Okay, welcome everyone. Tuesday, December 7th, 6:30 p.m. I'd like to welcome everyone to our council meeting. I'll ask first if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing one, that has been noted. I'll probably have to be reminded. Second on our agenda tonight is presentation. And I think Will has it up on the screen, or Will, from Amy Gagne, I believe, Foodcycle Science Corporation, on the Foodcycler Municipal Solutions proposal. So I'll throw it over to Amy if she can hear me.
Yes, thank you so much. If you can just put the PowerPoint in a presentation view, please, before we begin.
Yep. 5 minutes, and then we go. No. That was school.
Or if, yeah, that would work as well. You can just, usually you can click on the slideshow tab, and there's a play from the start that gives you a full view. Might be a little bit more visible. So there's slideshow on the top tab, on the orange, the very top.
Oh, the very top.
No, we can't do this.
It won't work with our connection, so if you want to
Oh,
just.
okay. Okay, no problem. Sorry about that. So just that would be fine. Can I just can you just zoom in a little bit just for me, and then I'll be good to go? Or if not, that's.
This is
that's
what
all
we've got. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
That's
Perfect.
Yeah.
No worries. So hello, Mayor and Council. So thank you for having me this evening. My name is Amy Gagne. I'm the project coordinator for Municipal Solutions. I'm here on behalf of Foodcycle Science's Municipal Solutions team. I'd like to do a presentation of approximately 10 minutes, leaving a few minutes at the end for some questions. So next, please. Thank you. Just a little short overview of who we are. Foodcycle Science is a Canadian company that is 100% focused on food waste diversion solution using our innovative technology called the Foodcycler. So our in-home food recycler is sold direct to consumers through partners like Vitamix and Breville, and to municipalities through partners, through Foodcycler Municipal. Our municipal solution team work with many small, rural, remote, and northern communities where curbside green bin collection is challenging to implement, or where landfill space is limited and ways to extend its lifespans are being considered. As of now, we have partnership with 23 municipalities across Canada, from Nelson in BC up to Hay River in Northwest Territories, as well as several nearby Ontario communities such as Bonfield and Parry Sound District. Our program has been adopted in municipalities across 6 different provinces and territories. Next, please. So what is the problem with food waste? Contrary to popular belief, it is actually household residential waste that are the largest contributor to food waste. In Canada, the equivalent of 40% of food produced annually along the value chain is wasted, and much of this food ends up in landfill or as compost. This food waste has been estimated to be worth approximately $31 billion each year. However, when all costs of food productions are factored in, including land, water, transportation, energy, etc., the cost of Canada's food waste exceeds $100 billion annually. So not only that, but with this hefty volume in liquid masses, which freezes in the winter, it makes it difficult to process and transport. Food waste in landfill is also responsible for generating harmful greenhouse gases that are contributing to climate change. And with all of these factors in mind, it is estimated that over 63% of food waste is actually avoidable. So why aren't we doing anything about it? All of these factors makes it so that food waste is a problem that has a strong municipal impact. Next, please. So one of the impacts to municipalities is that food waste makes up such a large portion of our waste stream. Therefore, it's causing our landfills to fill up quickly. Operating a landfill is costly for a municipality, so we want to extend the lifespan of our landfills for as long as possible. The environmental impact is that organic waste in landfills produces methane gas, which is many times more harmful than CO2. And to put that into perspective, taking 1 ton of food waste out of the waste stream is equivalent to taking 1 car off the road for an entire year. In our communities, putting food waste in the garbage causes odors, which is unpleasant for humans, but of course interesting for animals like bears and raccoons who loves to rummage through trash. Removing food waste from garbage eliminates these issues and reduces volume. For the municipality, this will save on disposal fees and save spaces in your landfill. And for residents, fewer trips to the landfills are needed and they'll spend less on excess garbage fees. Next, please. So working here, we often get asked, haven't we solved this already? So there are green bins, which are common in big cities with high population density and the right infrastructure. However, this is not a solution for everyone. Many people in your community might backyard compost, and we think it's a great solution. Unfortunately, backyard composting is also not feasible for everyone, and it's certainly not a year-round solution with still the concerns about bears and animals. And then finally, the easiest solution is to continue to landfill your organic waste, but the long-term impacts are costly and harmful to the environment. Next, please. Can you go to the next slide as well? Thank you. So at Foodcycler, we've proposed a different way to deal with our food waste, which really focuses on making food waste very easy to deal with and with a great user experience. Essentially, we've built a small kitchen appliance about the size of a bread machine where you put in your food waste, including meat, poultry, fish, your coffee grinds, tea bags, napkins, and even some bones. You push a button and in a matter of hours, you have reduced your food waste by 90% and you're left with a nutrient-rich soil amendment. The byproduct is a soil amendment that you can then use in gardening or landscaping applications. It can also be used by local farmers or even be pelletized to be used as an alternative source of home heating. Each cycle takes between 4 to 8 hours to complete and uses less than 1 kilowatt-hour of power. The machine can be used anywhere with a plug, and most people store it in their kitchen, basement, or heated garage. Next, please. The Foodcycler will process on average 1 kilogram of food waste per cycle, and the result is about 100 grams of dry, sterile, and odorless soil amendment that you can then add to your plants, your gardens, or your lawn. Next, please. From an environmental standpoint, the Foodcycler is comparable to backyard and central composting. It represents an approximate reduction of greenhouse gas emissions by about 95% in comparison to sending food waste to the landfill. Next, please. And in terms of economic impact, our solution offers a return on investment by significantly reducing your waste management costs. So in the short term, you may have less disposal and lower operating costs. And in the long term, you might get many more years out of your landfill and achieve higher diversion without implementing any costly curbside programs. Next, please. One thing we've learned from working with municipalities is that residents are very interested in being part of the solution. They want to try new things and they want options. With the Foodcycler, you get to bring something innovative and tangible to your residents, and they don't need to live in a big city to be able to divert their organics. We believe food waste diversion should be available to all Canadians, no matter where you live. On top of the social pressures, the impact of the regulations that are coming to us here in Ontario. I'm sure you are all aware of the number of diversion targets that are coming into effect in the next couple of years. The Waste Free Ontario Act, the Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act, the Waste Diversion Transition Act, coupled with Ontario's Climate Action Plan, lays out Ontario's vision for a circular economy and goals of a zero waste Ontario with zero greenhouse gas emissions from the waste sector by 2025. With the Foodcycler, we're reducing food waste at the source. And since food waste accounts for such a large portion of household waste, it's the single most impactful strategy to achieving these diversion targets. Next, please. As I mentioned earlier, we are working with several municipalities across Canada. And as an example, the city of Nelson, BC ran 2 pilot projects with 250 households receiving a Foodcycler unit. The results were overwhelmingly positive, with an average rating of 4.5 out of 5 stars and significant diversion of food waste. Following the success of those pilots, Nelson voted to put a Foodcycler in every home in their city of 10,000 people. Next slide, please. So a few months ago, Foodcycler was selected as a semi-finalist for Impact Canada's Food Waste Reduction Challenge, which is a 3-part initiative from the Government of Canada to reduce Canada's food waste. As a semi-finalist, we were awarded a $100,000 prize and tasked with finding Canadian municipalities as implementation partners. We're using this funding to invest directly into pilot project at a heavily subsidized price. And these pilots will help us move into the next stages of the challenge, which comes with a $400,000 prize in stage 2 and a 1.5 million grand prize in stage 3. Any future funding received will continue to be used to invest into programs for Canadian, and any municipalities that partners with us from stage 1 will have the first right of refusal on subsequent funding. Next, please. The pilot program is typically a 12-week project. So residents purchase a Foodcycler at a subsidized rate from the municipality. They use the unit, track the number of cycles per week, and at the end, the residents gets to keep the Foodcycler, of course, and we ask them to complete a brief survey so that we can evaluate the program's success. The results of the survey are also sources of valuable data that can be used to support future municipal waste management decisions. Next, please. So for our final slide, here's an overview of how the funded pilot programs are laid out, including our pilot size recommendations. For a municipality of your size, we would recommend a 50 unit pilot project. The funded pilots worked based on a subsidy model where Foodcycle Science provides a discount, and we add in the federal investment from Impact Canada to get the price of the unit reduced by 50%. We then ask the municipality to subsidize the cost by $100 per unit plus shipping. So the residents only ends up paying $150 for a $500 machine. Again, I'd like to highlight that these are simply our recommendation based on our experience, and we can always explore other program sizes or adjust the subsidy amount in a way that is tailored to your needs or budget. Municipalities will often bear the material and financial burdens of climate change, and with more at stake than higher levels of the government, we believe that municipalities have a unique position in fighting climate change. And we will welcome your municipality as a partner in this food waste challenge, as we believe your community is a great fit for the benefits of this program. And next, please. So thank you so much for allowing me to present this to you today, and I'm prepared to answer any questions that you may have at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to open the floor if anybody has any questions you would like to feel free.
You said it takes 1 kilowatt hour per cycle to operate this?
Yes, our approximation is about 0.8 kilowatt per hour. So that's equivalent to about having a desktop computer running for the same time as a cycle. A month, it should not cost you more than $2 to $4, but that's also depending on where you live.
Okay.
Thank you.
How long is this going to be available to us? If we have to make a decision tonight, or can we make a decision in a month?
Yes, thank you for your question. So as I've said, we're part of the Food Waste Reduction Challenge, and we receive funding from the government. Stage 1 of the challenge ends on January 10th, 2022. So we were originally looking for a commitment to participate by the end of the year, which would be December 31st, in order to secure the Impact Canada funding. The pilot project can begin anytime you want, so maybe not right in the new year. We have some municipalities that want to start when cottage season starts, because that could increase their participant rate. But of course, we do understand that the timing of this presentation might be too restrictive to make a decision by the end of the year. So if there is enough interest, we will honor these rates until the end of January 2022. So that would be January 31st, 2022.
You mentioned shipping costs. If you're looking at, let's say, you wouldn't ship them individually, so the cost would be on per 100 or what?
I believe the pallets are shipped in 50s. So it would be a freight company that would take care of your shipping.
Okay.
Depending, yes, sorry.
I was gonna say, how much would it cost to ship 50 from wherever you are to here?
Our warehouse is based in Vancouver, BC. And the freight company rates fluctuate depending on the season, and we can only get rates based on the season. So for example, shipping right now in the middle of December, that would cost a lot more than shipping in the spring 2022. If you are in Ontario, my estimation would be about $1,000 to $2,000. That is the estimate we had for other municipalities. But again, I can't give you an exact number because the freight companies changes the rate on a daily basis.
That's fair, and the fact that there's only one rail line coming out of BC right now might make it more challenging. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I think we're good. I appreciate the information, and I know you know that we will check with the local municipalities that are already on board to see how it's working. And we won't make a decision tonight, but we will discuss it. And I thank you again for your presentation, and you will get well, according to this, you will get an answer before the end of the year, hopefully, so that we can go on for 2022. So thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you very much. My contact information is on the presentation, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Good afternoon. Yes, I mean, 3 hours. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to wait till we have everybody. Liz, of course, isn't here tonight, but we'll put aside some time for discussion. We're going to check with the other townships, Landfill being.
Yeah, I don't think they've started yet. They've signed up, but I have checked with one thing, and there's another municipality I'm waiting to hear back.
Did you say Perry Sound as well?
I heard Perry Sound District, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So I'll follow up as well.
I was looking at the, like they have a list of this,
Perry Sound, like the city of Perry Sound, and then the region Perry Sound district.
The district is,
That's
like regional government.
it's like nixing district to Perry Sound. It's a area, geographic
It's not
area
there,
rather
it's
than.
not a, so the regional government might be doing that more.
but I don't see any of the Perry Sound district towns on.
But I do know that areas south of here in the Perry Sound district have been advertising, asking for input from their residents on their interest in the project as well.
Oh, I see, Georgia Beach Township. So
I think for me, for this, I think we should do like I suggested that we put it out to the public and see if we can actually sell it before you invest in it.
I'm not sure even then I would want
A deposit.
deposits, down payments, and even at that, I'm not sure because some people, I know I recycle and I would never be interested in this.
I wouldn't be interested in the picture, so.
Right. I can't speak, and I don't speak for the entire township, so
Well,
that's.
I know.
$100 deductible for deposit rather than $50.
Well, the municipality would end up with a bill for $5,000 for the 50 units plus the shipping fees.
And the shipping is not going to get cheaper in the spring. If anything, it's going to get way more expensive. So $1,000 to $2,000 per skid to ship across the country. And then we have to have that $5,000 budget.
I know our house, my wife would like one. I know the neighbor like across the street would want one, but that's two. That's not.
And it is a very constricted time frame for us to go out to the public to ask for input. So we can try it via our website, social media, just to see and
See what the interest
and
is.
bring it back to the next
He'll be,
meeting.
he'll be around next year too.
It might be at the next level. It might have $1 million
I'll have
by
the
yet.
people in Toronto or something like
Yeah.
that.
So again,
This year can only get cheaper. It's not gonna get more expensive.
I would hope not.
Well, you would think that this is pilot project at this point. Pilot projects are typically way more expensive than the run of the mill. Once everybody is on board with it, you'd probably be able to buy a full kit for $150 without the shipping.
When they start mass producing.
Exactly. And like these are $500 a piece.
Yeah, that's,
For a composter?
Yeah.
I bring a machine for $100 and some like $30 black drum composter that I made up at home. Kind of.
Yeah.
Mine would freeze it on the barrel.
Nope, I
All
think
my non-animal waste goes to.
we'll definitely discuss this again and we'll look into it.
We'll get some
And,
information for the next meeting.
Right, so the next meeting, no decision tonight, and we'll have a little time to think about what she had to tell us.
When I first saw it, I thought it was like, be like a big one, say in a condo or something, people could bring it,
Right,
you know, a group set rather than individual.
so I think she's given us something to think about and we can take it from there. So in that case, we can move on to staff reports. And in no particular order, I have Dan McGinnis on the very top. So we can look over it, and then if you have any questions, Dan is here to give us the answers.
Excavator tomorrow.
Yeah, it's got it all arranged, so it's here tomorrow.
That the brush head and everything.
Yeah, I took our brush head up so they could fit it, make sure it all works with it, so they'll bring it back down with it on the float. And then they're gonna, I've talked to them not to start our warranty until the spring, they'll give us 4 days to try the brushing head and stuff. And then our warranty won't start till spring, because it's just gonna sit all winter anyways.
Dan, I have a question. You said you've installed most of the no parking signs in our turnarounds.
Yeah.
The other areas, like, I think we're gonna have no parking, like in the beaches and those places.
Yeah, we are. It just, we're gonna put the rest on the budget, and then for next year, like, we'll budget it in, and then we'll get the rest of the signs. We just put them in the problem areas right now, and then we'll finish putting them in all the other turnarounds.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Dan? Well, let's move on to John Paul Magnotti.
Some interesting changes in the planning act.
Yeah. Is that something we're gonna have to look at down the road as well, these changes? Are there,
January 1st, 2022. Pretty close, it's good. Like they're, and some of these are pretty good too, because it's difficult to merge two lots that are created by consent. It's, now you can do a certificate of cancellation and merge the two together. Like when it's part of a subdivision, you can pass a deed by lot. and attached to lots on a subdivision together. But it's very difficult when you have two consents side by side, if you ever want to merge them one day. So that's one change that will help some people who want to put your lots together. In 2 years, it's kind of nice too, now with the surveyors behind it, a lot of the industry behind that extra year. That year goes fast to meet all the conditions of consent. So.
Yeah, 2 years are much better for some of them.
Sometimes it might be a year and a month, but then you have to start all over.
Well, and then revert back to one title should help
Yeah,
some people.
some people.
Position.
Yeah. And some of the lots were small and they want to build a house right in the middle lot line, you can't do it. So there's little tricks to go around it. It's difficult.
Well, yeah, because they would probably get a minor variance or something like that, or apply for a variance before.
You can't, yeah, like you could for minor variance, but once you go over a lot line, you can't. You have to somehow merge the two together.
Yeah, oh, I
There's
see.
little tricks to do it, like you have to.
Yeah.
Some tricks to do, but it's not, this is better. It's not
Oh,
even
yeah,
better.
yeah, that's,
The two together.
Okay, we'll move on now to Chief Bateman.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So starting in January, we're gonna start doing our smoke alarm program again, but we're gonna do a door stop program. So we're gonna go to the door. If somebody's home, we'll answer any questions and give them the information, and we'll ask them to fill out a little survey and send it back to us. So we won't be going to inside residence anymore, or, so we'll just go to the front door and do it that way.
just replace my photo. And my own too.
We're coming your way. We're getting everything switched over for the winter, so we're taking all the wildland equipment off and putting on the tracks and all the stuff we need for the winter months. If it decides to stay, I know it's gonna go for a little bit, but we've been dealing with a couple movie companies recently over the last couple weeks. We've been trying to work closely with them. We've had some challenges, a lot of challenges. We had one filming on Blake Street and then at the park. And now we have one on Chapman's Landing Road that we're trying to work with them daily to keep the roads opened and kept to our standards. It's about 3 or 4 dozen calls a day, but we're getting there slowly. The tabletop exercise for CEMC this year was going to happen on Zoom. So we're not going to do it in person. So what we're going to do is we'll send out the invitation. Anybody that's free and can make it, that's great. If not, we'll work with what we got, because that realistically is going to be what we have. When we have an emergency, we're going to contact who we can, and who we have is who we have. We don't expect everybody to be waiting by the phone or.
And
then
again, you never get warning when it's an emergency.
Correct.
So I see your point.
Yeah, and maybe next year we might be able to look at it in person again, but to be compliant, I think this is our best route this year. And we're starting to go over the bylaws, and as you see, some will start coming forward. The road super and the municipal administrator and I have been sitting down, we've been working all together, trying to keep going. So that's what all I have.
Any questions for Will? My only question, the tabletop, just looking at the dates, so that's gonna have to happen between now and the end of the year.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So,
But next year we'll be doing this in the summertime. We
okay.
won't be waiting till the end of the year anymore.
And again, you wait for COVID, you're hoping things would change. They haven't changed, so it's gonna, when it comes, it'll be an emergency, and whoever's available will pick up the phone, and the rest of us will be out sledding.
It's very advantageous.
Yeah, we'll see how it
The way
works.
we look at it too, realistically, right now, we won't be able to get everybody in one location anyway. So we're gonna have some in person, some on Zoom, some maybe on FaceTime. So we might as well try it and see how it goes.
Yep, no. it's the way things are now, and that it's good that we're gonna give it a shot. So we will see.
We will. Thanks.
Any other questions for Will? Okay, we'll move along to
Kristen doesn't.
Kristen. Oh, good. Kristen,
I'm so
you
excited. You have no idea.
you have the floor.
I'm like, woohoo.
You have the
Okay, so last June, when I was doing the newsletters and what have you, to go out, in that newsletter, there was a lot to do on recycling and stuff to do with our landfill. So I actually came across an opportunity to apply for a grant through Carton Council of Canada. So what it is a community education award, and it was developed to improve recycling education in the communities across Ontario. And with that being said, out of all of Ontario, only 13 communities were awarded this grant. And I got word today that we were one of them.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's always nice to announce good news.
Yeah.
Other than that, I've been working on bylaws. I have less than 500 left to do, and then they will all be digitalized. And
Maybe you should say how many you have done.
oh, I've got a lot. A
Right
lot.
from the beginning of time.
Yeah.
So,
Time and nips.
yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. See all of them.
Cleaning up the horse poop off the street.
There must be some pretty interesting.
Yeah. Get into them and reading them.
We won't be updating all.
Good. Well, thank you and congratulations on the award. And just cross your heart.
Okay, so we received word this morning or yesterday morning, when we applied for the RED grant, the Rural Economic Development Program for the Broadband and Communications Connectivity Study, it's not eligible. So we were not successful in that grant. This morning, we received word that we were successful for the Canada Community Revitalization Fund through FedNor, and that's for the playground. So we're still waiting for one more grant through Trillium, the resiliency, for the rest of the park updates, but that was a good one. And then today we also received word that our software provider, who we've used for many, many years, will be retiring and taking his program with him. So we will be looking for a new software program to run the municipality this year. So that's a great big budget item. There's 2 municipalities around us that also use the same software. We've been approached to partner with them to try and do the RFP and find something where we can find cost savings for different trainings and things like that. All right.
So we've been with Baker for a long time.
And it's a wonderful program. It fits our needs.
Unfortunately, this program is a single person.
Yes. And whenever we phone him, he answers the phone and he helps us out. So we'll miss that part. But Bonfield and Mattawa both use Baker as well. And I have been in touch with municipalities surrounding us to see what programs they use and to try and get a feel for what's around us.
So we're gonna go through more growing pains because of the.
Oh, yes.
So.
Well, software will always lead into hardware. So,
Well, inevitable, yeah.
exactly. So we do have a little bit for in reserve, getting ready for the server changes that we usually make, but this is a lot larger than what we had anticipated. So once we have some numbers, we'll bring that back for budget.
Can't go with it.
No, it's a pretty big part of what we do.
Yeah.
We do have some still in modernization.
We do. Yes, we do have funds in the modernization, and actually we were looking, all of us at the office were looking at different items online today. And some of the programs out there are really pretty neat. So we can interact with a new website, for example. There's apps, there's ePay, there's a lot of different things that we were asked about, especially when COVID hit, but it just wasn't feasible for us to look into something large like that. But now that we're doing a huge changeover, this is the time for us to look at modernizing all of our operations. So we'll try and roll it all into one.
That's what the fund's for.
Exactly.
What, I may have missed it, but what dates the baker done?
The end of 2022. So that only gives us a year. And I know that sounds like a lot.
Not to
That
get
scares
everything
me.
up and running. Bunch of it.
That's everything for financial and asset management.
So could we run two systems side by side?
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to be able to do that, especially for a certain amount of time to make sure that we're capturing everything we need. That's,
You don't want to get it like the federal government people.
Yeah. Then try to get it all back, or even the Ontario government, where they're trying to get how many millions back. Yeah. But they're saying, no, it's gone. We're just gonna write it off.
Yeah, they said it was good for the economy.
Yeah. Good for the guys that got it anyway.
Yeah,
So,
didn't help my economy any.
no, mine either. So, if there are no other questions for staff reports, pardon me, we'll go on to committee reports, and Councillor Moore sends her regrets. She couldn't be here tonight, but hopes to be here for our next meeting. So we'll move on to Councillor Marchant.
To report. I haven't heard a word of short of that.
Okay, good, thank you. And Councillor Kirk.
Library board, we had a meeting. We didn't have a quorum for the meeting in October. So we had a meeting on November the 22nd, and out of that, the library will be going to 100% capacity. Browsing won't require passport. Only if you're using one of the rooms or sitting at one of the computers or anything like that. They updated the air supply system. It was a board on the HVAC system. Because they were trying to expand the system to handle not just, it was just handling the washrooms. They were trying to figure out if they could expand the system to handle the whole building. So they could have the filtering throughout the whole building. They found out that it was just a board, a $500 board. So they were looking at putting out an RFP for revamping the system, and then they found out that it was a board. So we said, do it. And so it's installed. Now they have their for the whole building instead of just the washroom. Other than that, everything is good. We will be starting in January on the financial budget for next year. So,
Okay. Any library questions?
we'll have a copy of the minutes, I presume.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Councillor Scott.
We had a rec committee meeting. We set the dates. I don't have the minutes with me. They're on my laptop. Have it at home. Starting February, Will's first one. And then we have what, 5 events planned? So it's gonna be one a month. And Christmas is gonna be the fire department. They're gonna do the Christmas delivery, and that's the one they're focused on right now.
And that was a really successful last year.
Yes, and
It
it
was
was
excellent.
the sponsorship that the township got from its businesses and suppliers is just phenomenal. So it'll be a good one.
Good.
And that's all I have for now.
Okay, great. On our last meeting, I reluctantly promised that Eastham was having a meeting the next day, and we did. There are really no changes with the funding announcements. Right now, the only thing that's holding us up is getting our big board out front that says this project has been sponsored by the federal government, and another one that says this has been sponsored by the provincial government. Because we did it, then it has to be sent to them, and then they have to okay what we're putting on it, and then it comes back, and then we have to send it out and get an RFP to send it out to a sign company who will then design it and put it up, you know? So we're there, it's at a sign company and we're ready to go now. The good thing is 90% of the work they have to do is, I mean, they're putting these on the roof and opening the roof up, and they have to change all the windows, which are definitely not winter jobs in a senior's home. So we're looking at spring that this will all happen. And so they put all the tenders out, and the tenders will be read this Friday at 9 o'clock. We have a meeting to go over that. And so they look at the tenders, and all four companies are local that have bid for it. I can't remember them all, so I won't even try to tell you. And otherwise, with our systems, there's a new software program that they've started. There's a new general ledger that started. The good news is staffing. We have increased applicants and improved recruitment efforts. So that's good. It's good because we have 3 management positions that have to be filled. I sat in on one. All I did was sit. It was a non-speaking role, but there had to be board representatives there. And so they have to get a new director of care. And then they need IPAC, which is basically somebody that looks at COVID and any other kind of diseases that may affect the entire building. And then they also have one called RYE coordinator, but it's not RYE. So, and it's to look at the people in the home and their acuities and what they need to take care of them, because the higher the level, the more government funding. So, and I mean, they definitely need the funding. So, and now they're only testing at the front door from 1 to 4 p.m. because the government has cut the pay for that, but we still have to pay to have somebody there to do that. And like we said, the tenders are out, and as of October 1st, the mandatory COVID vaccination came in. We have a new agreement with Bell, and that's for all the agreements with Bell, but then as a person in the home, then you purchase whatever package you want with Bell. And then Mitchell Jensen are the architects that are doing the tender packages. We have a board oversight committee that has to be there evidently as well. The final insurance increase was at 19%, and we lost 25% of our coverage. So it's not a 19% increase, and we have spoken to MPP Fidelity about that. And in the last week, because the ice is so bad in the lake anyway, I spent 3 days on the new long-term care regulations, because in the new long-term care regulations, if you're a member on the board, you could be fined up to $500,000 if you don't provide the necessary needs of the clients in the home. Now, I'm sincerely hoping that they're looking more at private, homes or homes that are, but this is for everyone, and that's why I had to be there so we can see. So if the volunteer pool seems to be going down, that could be a really good reason. Yeah, and otherwise, our next East Home meeting is until a week from tomorrow. So that's all I have. So
Vaccination rate.
out of 128 full-time staff, we lost 8. But we did lose 8 staff. 2 nursing, 2 dietary, 2 from the custodial, and I'm not sure where the other 2 are from. But so it was spread out, but either way, it's regrettable, but we don't make those rules. It came down from above. So I've just broken the arm off my glasses, so I think I have another pair just for things like that. Now we'll move on to number 5, the minutes from the special meeting and the regular council meeting. So for that, I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Scott and Councillor Kirk. So it's number R 2021-253, moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Kirk. The minutes, the special meeting and the regular council meeting of November 16th, 2021 be adopted as published. All in favor? Here. Okay. And next, number 6, the holiday hours for municipal operations. I think everybody got that. With Christmas being on Saturday and Sunday, that means Monday and Tuesday are the days. And then with New Year's falling on the next week, rather than take off the following Monday, we're going to put it all into the week. So
the extra day we'll be using our bank vacation time.
right. So are there any questions about that? I know we've been quote monitoring a number of businesses, and in their point to open for a day doesn't really work. You know, and I know we've looked at a couple of trucking companies and said they can't even coordinate for one day down south. So everything will start again after Christmas. So any questions about this? Because Chris has worked on it.
No, they're closed. We're closed. No, roads department will be on call. We'll still have someone patrolling roads, and if it snows, we'll be out.
Okay.
We monitor the emails for the office each workday as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and if there's a lot of snow, you'll.
Yeah, we go out regardless. I mean, yeah, our minimum standard, we go. I mean, like I said, there's someone on patrol in the mornings from 3 in the morning till, 7, 8. So, yeah, the roads department's not shutting down really unless if there's no snow, we'll try and take as much holiday as we can. But
Yeah.
if it snows, we'll be out.
Where we thought Christmas Day was a normal day anyway for roads.
Yeah,
Always snows.
exactly.
I, 30 years ago, we had like 3 Christmases off.
Hardly snow.
Yep. 'Tis the season. So I need a mover and a seconder then. Okay, Councillor Martin and Councillor Scott. So it's number R 2021-254, moved by Councillor Marchant, seconded by Councillor Scott, that the 2021 holiday hours for municipal operations are as follows, and you see them all there below, and in our new packages, these are included. So We have them and they're also available to the public as well. So all in favor? Carried.
All the donuts, 12 o'clock.
On the next one, we have somebody interested in the cemetery committee. So we need to appoint this gentleman. So I need a mover and a seconder for that, Councillor Kirky and Councillor Marchant. So it's number R 2021-255, moved by Councillor Kirky, seconded by Councillor Marchant, that we appoint Brett McDonald to the Township of Nipissing Cemetery Committee. All in favor? Here.
I'm still waiting for 2 more members at large, if you know of anyone who wants to join the cemetery.
We're not allowed because we already have the
We still
council.
have 2, yes, we have 2 council members.
Okay, the next one, number 8. And that's that we purchased 2 safe Ace Evolution 15 FM, that might be full matrix, radar speed and traffic data collection units from Cedar Signs at a cost of $9,263.70, including applicable taxes. And we utilize funds from modernization funding for this purposes, for this purchase, pardon me. And if anybody has any questions, Dan can speak to this. But the one reason why we want the traffic data collection units is how many years do we do the asset management?
Asset management is a living document, so we have to have certain updates to our roads needs study, and our current one, I believe, is from 2013.
And in the past, we've had to go outside to get that done, and they collect the data for us and then charge us for it. This way we can do it in-house at a savings, and so this will work well, I think, with the signs and the information. So any questions for Dan?
With this system, now I've got 2 things here. I've got the one we deferred
Right,
from last meeting.
right.
Is that the same one?
No, we're gonna go with a different one.
Okay, so this is different.
It's
So
a better price and it does more for us. The $9,200 one.
okay, the other one was 7,100.
For 1 unit.
For 1 unit,
One.
Oh, for 1 unit.
Yeah.
This is
for 2.
for 2. Now, does this interface with our computer system? Or,
Well, we will have,
We can download.
but this system here, we can access it remotely for 1 year for free. And then after that, if we want to stay if we want to do it that way, it's $400 a year, but we don't have to do it. We can go and download the information on a flash drive.
oh, I see, okay.
The other system doesn't offer that.
So in your asset management, you have current real-time
Yes.
data that you're going to be using.
Right.
This way we can update all of our roads and all of our
So,
traffic counts ourselves.
yeah, they'll tell us how many cars are on that road per day, per week, per month, however long we keep it there. You know, it breaks it down to, when the heaviest traffic is, what's the biggest speed time on that road is. Like, it really breaks things down. So if we do really have a problem with speeding, we can have the police sit there at that hour
Yeah,
and target that hour to slow people down.
So it records the speed
Yeah.
as well, shows them.
Yeah, and it'll flash your speed, but this system here, you can set it so people don't race the radar. So say you're going 25 over, it won't flash anything. It'll just say too fast. It won't give you your speed. But if you're doing 10 over, it'll tell you too fast, 10 kilometers over,
mhm.
because some people will try and see how fast they can get their vehicle going.
It does record that speed.
It records it, yes, it just doesn't flash it up there.
It doesn't need because in the summertime, we find like on ours, it's, oh, there's the motorbikes going across, trying to get it to work. And it doesn't work, we give up. But you're seeing speeds in a 50 zone, 120, 140 kilometers an hour. But it's recorded.
Right,
That would be the ideal place to put the trap.
exactly. Yeah,
Exactly.
in Hummel Bridge, like that would be good to take how much traffic is passing there a month, a week, a day. And then we know what kind of traffic volumes you see.
Well, especially when you're looking for,
Yeah,
when you're looking for repair funding and stuff like that.
right.
There's a lot of information that can be gathered that we can use for a lot of different uses.
No, I realized that.
Yeah,
we
well, that
already
was,
had
the-
one.
that was the original price I got from the one company, but then I talked to a different company, Cedar Signs, and they had this one, which I think is a better
Yeah.
option, and it's cheaper. And gives us more options, more functions.
Yeah, okay. Well, where's it?
So I need a mover and a seconder again. Thank you, Councillor Turkey and Councillor Scott. So it's number R 2021-256, moved by Councillor Turkey, seconded by Councillor Scott, that we purchase 2 Safe Pace Evolution 15 full matrix radar speed and traffic data collection units from Cedar Signs at a cost of $9,263.74, including applicable taxes. And we utilize funds from modernization funding for this purpose. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we're going to number 9. And it's a zoning bylaw amendment. So I need to read that this part of our meeting is declared a public meeting pursuant to the provisions of section 3412 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, to discuss an application for change to zoning bylaw 2020 by the Township of Nipissing. And this bylaw is, again, I believe you received this. And if you have any questions, John Paul is here, but again, a very thorough, and Patrick and Jamie did the report, and it shows the lot, our boundaries, and everything that has to, the special zones and whatever that have to be done to amend this zoning bylaw. So if you have any questions, John Paul's here to answer.
We had already done these in committee of adjustments, am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, like-
No,
Yeah.
not the bylaw amendment,
Right.
but we
Yeah.
had visited these properties in committee of adjustments. So it's changing to RU?
No, it's to satisfy a condition of provisional consent. So say that property, that where Hazel Glen Road is, it's that
Mhm.
big 200-acre farm, so they
Yeah.
also live there. But when they created the new lots, there's a big unclassified wetland in excess of 2 hectares on that property. So when you create a new lot on it now, you could either get a study, which would cost a lot of money to see if you could build closer to that unclassified wetland, or you can just say, okay, any development in the future has to be 120 meters away from that unclassified wetland. So then you pass a zoning bylaw amendment to restrict development in the future from ever being 120 meters from that unclassified wetland, then you're protecting it.
Yeah, I wasn't fully understanding how that was.
Saves them paying 30 grand for
For a study.
Yeah.
Right.
what they may never need at like 120 meters.
It's a big lot, so.
Oh, yeah, I see that. It's about a quarter of a mile deep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the width of 100-acre
That's
lot, right?
1,320 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, so, okay.
So we believe, John Paul believes, if we believe that they've satisfied all our requirements, We need a mover and seconder, so we can pass it. Councillor Marchant and Councillor Kirky. This is number R 2021-257, moved by Councillor Marchant, seconded by Councillor Kirky, that we pass bylaw number 2021-56, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2020 as amended. Read a first, second, and third time and passed the 7th day of December 2021. All in favor? Carried. So number 10. This is a bylaw to establish policies for the use of unopened road allowances. Now, we have done this in the past for one.
We have another application coming in.
So to be proactive, we're looking at establishing this for an open road allowances in the future. We've contacted the lawyer. And this is what they have come up with. And this way we can use an unopened municipal road allowance, and we are protected. Because I think that was what we were afraid of in the first case. Somebody else uses that road allowance. Now we have the A, we can open it, B, though we have the liability protection that somebody can go on that. So if you've read it over, adopt. Unless you have any questions, in which case, feel free to ask.
This basically is the same one that we used at the other.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. No, there's nothing different, but now by putting this in, we will use this for any road allowance that comes up in the future.
The way that people ask now is they give us a written submission, but we don't require any surveys or anything. Just a drawing to show us what they're going to do. But it happens very rarely. We should have something in place to protect, make sure that we get the insurance.
Here's a question. What if somebody is already using the road allowance from past, where they were given permission by the township in the past? Far past. And somebody else wants to use that road allowance.
In the future.
Permission given in the past. It would depend on if we had any proof of the permission given in the past.
Well, there's that one colonization road off of Pilger that people have mentioned. That people are using it across the property, but it's a colonization road. That's different, but it's a road allowance. Yeah. Just throwing that out.
This would be for personal use, right, John?
Just thinking, because like say at one time, down resolution, this approving the use of road allowance between concession 1 and 2 and lots 5 and 6. This is, it's just getting more detailed now as we go on to, in order to use the property now, because somebody could be building a camp back there or a bigger place. And it's hard to know sometimes where the road allowance is going. You try to walk a straight line in the bush, 3,300 feet. Like people try.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes they do pretty good,
You know,
but a lot of times, but sometimes they don't.
I lean a little to the right. I pull to the right.
well, I do recall taking some flags down that somebody had put on my place when they were following the road lots to put a skew trail in. But-
Yeah, see, you know,
And then,
they try.
and then I could see flags way over on the other side of my neighbor's bush. Well, the road lots was here, but either they brought some juice with them and they were staggering when they were doing this, I don't know, but they, at first they were following it pretty good, and then they started to wander. There were some places a couple of 100 feet into the adjacent lots.
And then it's.
Yeah, then it's a problem, yeah. So that's why I asked.
Nope, good question. So this will establish a policy and then we will move forward with when we have other interested parties in the future. So a mover and second. Counselor Kirky and Counselor Scott. So it's number R 2021-258, moved by Counselor Kirk, seconded by Counselor Scott, that we pass bylaw number 2021-57, being a bylaw to establish policies for the use of unopened road allowances. We had a first, second, and third time it passed the 7th day of December 2021. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so number 11, to regulate waste disposition at township landfill sites. Hopefully we've gone through this or have gone through it. And all it is putting in writing what we're already doing, updating.
We changed a few things from the one that we passed in 2020. There was some confusion about animal viscera and carcasses. It basically, we wanted to clarify that commercial agricultural waste won't be accepted, but for hunting and things like that, we do
I
accept.
think fishing because.
Right.
That's right.
Yes, camps.
And I
Yes.
think why that was in there originally, there was a commercial entity out here. And,
Oh, right, yeah.
and if it was bad, you know, if they started putting their waste in there, because there was huge volume. So that's why it's in there, but it, you know, you can do it with, you know, like you say, hunting and fishing.
Yes. So it created some confusion. So we wanted to clarify that we do accept that.
And the other, sorry, and the other clarification with human waste, it's human waste such as diapers and incontinence products. We're not opening it up to human waste. That's not allowed, you know, as in
Oh, yeah,
what we used to have years ago.
you have to clarify.
Yes.
And we added fines. Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's okay. We added fines for that as well. We never had fines attached before. So for dumping outside the gates and for human waste, it's a rather large fine for the disposal of human waste because of the hazard it creates for our
Well,
staff.
There's also the cost of removing it.
That's correct.
That doesn't come cheap.
It does not. And the hazmat boy comes in.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said no commercial, so the people running nice bungalows can. they
Commercial
not dump-
agricultural.
Commercial, so ice bungalows are still allowed,
They're still allowed to bring the fish up, whatever.
yeah, but they can't bring human waste.
No,
But the commercial agricultural is for a farm
yeah,
operation.
You don't want to have, well, typically commercial farm operations, They have a collection system that where they make money from carts anyway, so
Anymore.
not anymore.
Can't even get them picked up in Southern Ontario now. They're home 200 kilometers. They used to come, they used to.
Yeah, because it used to be,
No company's doing it now. Southern Ontario.
in Southern Ontario.
I think there was here, pick up dead stock.
Yeah, there was.
Well,
There used
not the
to be.
last few years.
Banner rendering.
But not.
Banner rendering used to, and I believe I've seen a few rendering trucks.
No, I've been reading a lot of articles from the OFA and from the Ontario farmer. And they're having real problems with it. So that Department of Agriculture, OMAFRA now is actually doing seminars on how to compost animals on your farm because nobody's picking them up.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that because I do remember,
The one at Argyle closed several years ago down west east of Beaverton.
what was that? Which one was that?
They closed because it just wasn't, they couldn't get people who wants to work skinning it in and anybody to work there.
So mover into seconder. Okay. Councilor Scott, Councilor Kirky. We passed bylaw number 2021-58, being a bylaw to prohibit the unauthorized disposal of waste and to establish and regulate a system for the disposal of solid waste in the defined areas of the Township of Nipissing. Read a first, second, and third time and passed the 7th day of December 2021. All in favor? Carried. Now, the next one is emergency plan, and I think we looked at it, went over it at the last meeting. There's been no changes.
Remove the blue highlight.
We removed the blue highlight, yeah, the highlight. thing. Only old people like myself could read. Other than that, everything stayed the same. And any comments or questions on that, we directed to Will, but I don't see anything different than before anyway. In that case, we need to move her in second. Councilor Marchant and Councilor Scott. So it's number R 2021-260. Moved by Councilor Marchant, seconded by Councilor Scott, that we pass bylaw number 2021-59, being a bylaw to adopt a community emergency plan for the corporation of the Township of Nipissing. Read a first, second, and third time and passed the 7th day of December 2021. All in favor? Carried. Okay.
We're just reviewing the draft bylaw for the pushing of snow across municipal road.
So if you haven't looked at that or have any questions about that, at first I didn't understand the severity. And there are some people that have moved here recently that just push it into the middle of the road and leave it. They don't take it across. They just push it there and wait for the snow plow. But unfortunately, cars come in the meantime and hit a mammoth snow pile, which can cause issues.
Especially when we push the wet snow out, it drops down -20.
Now you've got a ramp.
Well, doesn't the Highway Traffic Act cover this as well, or this basically follows, because I was reading this.
It does.
And it's almost verbatim with the Highway Traffic Act, so.
We're hoping to attach fines to it.
Oh, okay.
The question is not to a highways defined as between the lot lines, right? It says between the, includes the area between the lateral property line. So, under 1A highway,
We took the definition from legislation. so-
right, I don't know if we had this before.
Yeah.
But it says between, includes the area between the lateral property line thereof and street and roads level like meeting. Well, I was just wondering under A, 2A, it says deposit any snow on any portion of any highway. I was wondering about the portion between the lot line and where the snowplow left it. What happens to that snow? Because it says you can't deposit it onto a highway. I was curious, trying to figure out.
Yeah.
the definition.
Well, I think this refers to the driven portion of the road, doesn't it?
Yeah, the Highway Traffic Act used to say travel portion, I thought.
It did at one point, but I do believe that this includes between the lateral property line thereof. So it's the property, between your property line and the driven portion. That's my interpretation.
Basically,
of that.
ditch to ditch.
Ditch to ditch to ditch. You can put it in the ditch, but you can't put it on the road.
Yeah,
But what about that snow between your culvert and where the snowfall left it? I just trying to make it clear. Because it says shall not deposit any snow, so. But like the rest of that, I just remembered years ago was always travel portion. Just that piece of property.
And where exactly, I'm still having trouble.
Well, you know where your property line is, and then the municipal property starts. But there's a ditch there typically. There's 66 feet.
right.
So you're 33 feet from the center of the road, but you're usually the driven portion is what, about 15 of that, 16 of that?
Yeah, about 5 meters from the center, basically.
Okay, so 5 meters from the center. But there's that little area
Right,
that's not driven, that's on basically your side of the
but
ditch.
we're just, yeah, you can't take that. And you should be taking that into your property, not out onto the roadways.
But the roadway part of it, part that is on the municipal, you can push that to the side.
To the sides.
Of your driveway.
Like this is,
But
you
you're
can't
not,
deposit any snow on a highway.
you're not
You want the
depositing.
line.
Your snow from your lot line in should be put on your property. The snow from your lot line to the driven portion of the road, you can push either way, to either end of the culvert, basically.
Not according to this, because it says you can't deposit it on a highway.
No, you're not depositing your snow on the highway, you're just moving the snow that's
The
already there.
highway, the highway goes from property line to property line.
But you're not depositing your snow on their property, you're moving that snow that's already there.
Okay, so you're saying that snow belongs to the highway. I was just wondering, because, so many
Oh,
questions,
I get that, I get
where
that.
does
This
that
is
snow
valid
go?
argument.
So, I mean, we'll draft. I mean, we can try and clean it up saying,
I don't know if we have to, just when I read it, I thought, where do you put your snow from your lot line to the travel portion?
And I don't think the average Joe will pick up on that, but
Maybe not.
maybe not, but you can't push it on the road. And then you see lots of them, they plow their mailbox and they push it. Now they stop and there's a foot and a half of the shoulder with this much. It slowly becomes an issue.
right, even when people push it across the road, it leaves divots in the road for,
They don't clean their windrows, they don't.
well, even if they clean the windrows half decent, I mean, you still leave those divots, and then when the snowplow goes through, then it becomes we drop snow in between those divots and it just keeps building and building. But it's the people that are leaving the snow chunks and the big snowballs out on the road, it's bad. Like this year's bad already.
So we had 7 calls the first snowfall. 3 was for snow left in the center of the road. And the others did the same thing, pushed it across the road or cleaned up the mailbox and left a couple feet out hanging. That was the first snowfall.
And like you said, even with the snow plow trucks, when that freezes and we hit that, like it's.
Oh, yeah, I get that, yeah.
It's violent.
Yeah,
It really
Yeah.
is violent. You can break a shear pin, the wind can come up, tear the
come back. in.
mirrors and stuff off, like, it could get uglier quickly.
And not only the fact of the township stuff, but like the car, like I said, this township is hills and curves. I mean, and cars
Yeah.
come around there and hit that.
You're not gonna see it until it's right there.
Right.
No, the travel portion, I completely agree with you. It's been always a problem.
Yeah, we're
And
just,
I was just curious on that definition of that snow between that little chunk.
I guess I can refer that to the next one.
So do we want to refer it or do we want to pass it as is?
Well, it's not up for passage tonight, it's just for discussion.
Oh. That's right.
Oh,
it's
it's
for
not up
discussion. No,
No, it's a
draft, so.
It's just for a review,
Well,
so
yeah.
that,
Oh, we can get it,
Yeah,
if we're having problems, we've got to solve.
that's all right.
Clarify the writing so that.
and I think
everybody's on the
it's
same page.
also in there is, because we don't want them putting a bunch of snow into the ditches, plugging it off for spring drip, because that, in the spring, we're chasing plug culverts because all the snow gets deposited into the ditches and
Mhm.
blocks off the culverts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I think that's why it's such a wide from property line to property line. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I sort of get that. I'm on a highway
right,
and the stuff that is on the highway because the highway
yep,
you can be fairly wide there and the ditches are fairly deep. And I basically push it all to one side because the plow comes that way, so I'm pushing it that way.
right.
Now, clean up my mailbox, it goes that way, but I keep everything in line with their snowbank.
Right, and that's,
So it just,
it's common sense.
Careful how you use that.
yeah, it's not that common anymore.
It's not anymore, no, but
But
we can try to clean that up though. That's
Yeah, we'll
good.
definitely work on that, but we would like to bring it forward for passage at the next council meeting, so that's why it's good to have the input so that we can do that.
yeah,
'Cause now I see what you mean. I didn't understand in the beginning.
yeah. Maybe if we did go back to safe written portion.
We'll review the definitions, because
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
know that like the highways definition of the traffic or the highways act is terrible.
It had its challenges. Let's try to put it together, let's just say.
Treat everything as a highway when there are roads or trails or whatever.
Mhm.
I assume that's a pretty old document. Not up to us to do it or revamp it.
We were trying to find the best ones. We'll continue with
Okay, well, good. Well, we'll go to number 14. Just-
it. Okay, so Bill, can you put up that department summary? I have given council a budget document for the public agenda portion. We did not put the budget report in simply because the report that we get is very specific to salaries and it can be distinguished for different things that should be. So we're working on that report and that will be nice with the new software. However, we are in good shape. It's just a quick budget review. We won't go line by line. We're not missing any large amounts. There was a change in the funding that we received for the ventilation work under. They, if you remember back to last year, they'd given us a certain amount of money for modernization for the ABL system, and we did a certain amount of the HR. But we didn't use all of the money. They did not ask for the money back. They just said, we know that you didn't use it all. We will come back to it. They came back to it during the ISIP grant and said, here is the money you didn't use on that one. We're deducting that from the ISIP grant. So that's what happened to it. So we did have it. It was in the surplus for last year. They used it. So that's why you'll see a shortfall on that budget line, but technically we did receive that one. Next council meeting will be moving forward with moving amounts to reserves for the end of the year. I haven't made those calculations yet. We don't have all the figures yet. I didn't note any areas of concern, but if council had any questions.
Our Parks and Recs actual budgets are down.
Well, we couldn't open as we wanted. Exactly. So,
It's the COVID money makes up for that.
well, we didn't spend as much either,
No,
so it should work well, because we couldn't, our fitness membership was down, and the community center rentals are down. Obviously.
obviously.
And the operations of the museum were not up to where we had hoped. Because when we did the budget, we had hope for an open season for everything. So I feel like that probably move to working with reserves at the next meeting.
That update before we move on. We'll be looking, we get the finals in, that'll come up in the next one.
Yes. And we will do the machines credit adjustments for that meeting as well. Those are not much advanced.
Which brings us to another discussion item. You've got this sheet that says Consumer Price Index 2021. And that brings us to number 15. Just a discussion, just looking, not going any more than that right now. In the past, when we have had bounty, we went with cost of living allowance. This year, if you look, the cost of living has gone up 4.7%, which if you look, if we go with something like that, it's going to make a huge, it will be huge. And to the bottom line, when you go to staff, and I talked to this as well with Councillor Wurr earlier, and there are two trains of thought here. First of all, you get what you pay for. So if we pay more money, we'll get better staff. At the same time, we're also in a position where 4.7 is punitive. That's really high. Yeah.
Yes.
And we have to look at that. Councillor Moore pointed out that this will be an election year, and if you cut back on what council gets paid, you may not get the same quality of people running. But I don't think any of us are here for the bucks. You know, so I mentioned that. I said, I don't think we're here for the dollars now. Some of the other councils around didn't take any raise in COVID, and we did because we were behind. And we were behind, and we're comparable now. In fact, one of our neighboring one points out all the time how we get paid more than they do, you know. And
Could have increased it too.
they could have, I just said because we do a better job, you know, which doesn't go. But
with the staff wage increase, like we can pick a number, right?
we can't.
That was just
Like
to
we
give you a
could take
guide.
3.5.
Yes.
Something like that.
Did
Absolutely.
they all get this?
Yes, everybody got, I gave a
If you
breakdown
look
of
at this,
4.7.
this sheet here,
Or 3.5 would be around 30,000
Around.
increase or something.
and again, we can't sell out 2.5 either. I know the government is trying to hold it at 1,
And all those increases, 2.74.
right?
I put that in there just as an information bit.
So this is something for all of us to look at, and then, before,
I'd like to have a number that council would have in mind for me to prepare documents for the next meeting, so that we have them in place for the beginning of.
so 2 weeks from now. What we've traditionally done is, again, traditionally, whatever council took, you did that with the staff as well. And it's a lot bigger difference with the staff. I understand that, but it's, if council says, we're taking 4.7 and you can get 2, you're pretty crappy. So that's why.
The trouble is, like for us, if you go up, usually you got to pay more income tax, so.
Exactly.
So like a 2.5 is better than nothing.
So we can look at that for the next one.
Yeah.
And Chris gave you the numbers and you can see.
So for discussion purposes, then I can create 3 documents for the 4.7, 3.5, and 2.5, and then we can. make a
For
decision.
staff,
And-
okay.
and-
Is it necessary that we take an increase?
It isn't necessary.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah,
because
no, it's
When I
not
stepped
necessary.
up to this, I had no clue what it was. It didn't matter.
Same when I can.
Yeah,
Yes,
so,
I don't think any of us did.
The only thing is for like, for driving and stuff, you gotta remember the price of gas now.
well, I realize that, but
And it's not gonna drop.
no.
No, I mean, even a 1% increase or something,
plus.
minimal, as long as we're moving forward. Because I think a 0% increase maybe.
Oh, I'm not talking for staff. I'm-
No, I mean for council as well.
Oh, okay.
Because then you run into a situation if you take a 0% and eventually you have to catch up.
Yeah. But I was thinking, like, everybody out there is kind of hurting right now. Kind of what we by example
Mhm.
to me.
We kept taxes to pretty well at 2 point something the last 2 years.
That's usually our goal. Yep.
This year, we
Yeah.
probably won't be able to.
We're gonna try hard.
We're gonna try for that.
And
So then that fits in with,
with what we're kind of talking about here, that we could, I don't know how you feel about it, or
I already made the suggestion earlier that if we don't take one, then whatever, but the way it was explained to me, it was minimal, $1,200 a year for if we took, this is the 2%.
2.5.
That's for everybody here. It's only $1,200. It, in the big scheme of things, that
well,
$1,200 is a drop in the bucket. I'm not saying, yeah, we gotta take it, but I thought it would make a big difference,
keep
but it
it,
doesn't.
keep it to a minimum. I think we all agree
We
that
do.
for council, we should keep it to a bare minimum.
Yep.
Like I would be perfectly fine not getting an increase, but as
same here.
long as everybody feels the same way, it's fine with me.
And I mean, that will be council's decision. And, we'll bring that up in the next meeting. And, we'll see what support we have, and then we'll look at,
So this way I can prepare documents for all of the different price points and then council
Yeah.
will make the decision.
Yeah, because
I like Chris's idea that they might go, if we don't take anything, then for a year or two, then suddenly we're nothing of a big one, people say, why you give us a 4% raise?
Because they'll never remember the 0 2 years from now.
even if
And nor will
you,
they care.
even if you go 1%.
Yeah.
Which is minimal, like 1% is gonna cost, like,
5 is going to have an impact.
so $600, $500, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, I see, and then just to say that we're
Moving forward.
moving.
We're moving forward, we're looking at 1%, but that's, and then, we've set the example, but you still have to treat your staff better than that,
Oh,
So,
absolutely,
yes.
yeah.
So then we look at one of those other three things for the staff, And James's idea was, we'll take nothing. We'll throw all that money into the pool, but we're only throwing $1,200, which
That was my thing, and I went, forget what $1,200, that ain't a lot.
that's a
Yeah.
pretty shallow
But
pool.
we appreciate
Yeah.
the gesture.
With percentage, you have to keep in mind, a person making $100,000 a year or $60,000 a year, 2% goes up.
Is-
That's a lot more.
It's sizable, we can make it,
Sizable increase at least on the
Yeah.
4%, so
Yeah.
39.
yeah, so,
We understand.
We
We might not be able to make the 2 point something.
We're gonna work on it. There's still so many unknown variables out there with the levies coming in. That's the part that I'm concerned about for our budget.
Some announcement the other day, somebody 80-some thousand. I thought that's read somewhere we got money for it.
Yeah, that's in our correspondence. You'll see that we got that for road infrastructure.
Right.
So that gives me a great starting point for the documents for our next council meeting. Thank you.
now we go to correspondence. And the first one is what Councilor March has just mentioned. That the Northern Ontario Resource Development Fund annual allocation is $97,679.54. And that was one of the things that we have consistently asked for, stabilization. You got to know what you're going to get.
That's like a one-time.
Is there an annual allocation?
Yeah, so we're really hoping it's annual.
It's sort of. Yeah, it is.
I believe so. I know that several municipalities around us have asked for clarification. So they're hoping to speak to the minister to get some more clarification, and I'm hoping to be in on that call.
Okay.
And then the second one, East Ferris requesting support for the implementation of stop arm camera program. I don't know if anybody that's ever seen a school bus and seen that stop arm, I think that's something that we can support as well.
CBC, they said there a month or two ago that the number of cars going through has increased.
Yes,
Now, the stop arm camera literally has a camera on it that takes a picture of any movement coming beyond the tail end of the bus.
Yeah.
I was sitting there when I was reading this earlier, I was in the logistics of it. Where would the camera be and all of that, and it would have to be right on the stop arm. So as soon as the stop flips out, it activates the camera. And would it be a motion detector at the back end of the bus?
that I know.
Mattawa already has.
Oh, okay, so.
Yeah, Mattawa has them. They were the first around. And yes, we're, I hope, going to support next meeting. If you're willing, we'll support East Ferris. Say, yes, we support that.
Like with all the education, I couldn't believe when he quoted the statistics, the number of ones
People
that
that drive
drive the
through.
buses.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
they're in a
Mattawa
hurry.
already had the camera.
Number 3 then, so we'll put that on the next agenda, copy of the letter from the North Bay Perry Sound District requesting a commitment of funding to assist with COVID-19 costs. We're, if there's funding, we know there's costs. So I would just assume that we would support that. And then you see this strategic plan for very sound social services administration board, so DSAB. And that is lengthy. Then next, letter from Near North Crime Stoppers requesting financial support in a resolution recognizing Crime Stoppers Month. Resolution, easy to do. The question is, at one time, and this was when Pat was here, they locked him up in North Bay Mall. They can't do that anymore, but they locked him in North Bay Mall, and when they got enough donations, then he got released. I've never done it because they haven't had it, and I didn't think I'd get released. I would rot in jail. So there, we traditionally have made in other situations $100 donation. And that's what we do to the fall fairs and things like that. For the next one, could we do that? Give Crime Stoppers $100? And that's the same donation that
Which probably, which words a lot. One of the therapy.
yes, so we'll go with that. 6, information on the launch of the lobby registry. Ryan Eckmeyer, if you've looked at that.
Yeah, it's an annual.
Yeah, $9,000 a year. And he would lobby in favor of us. I don't think so. I think that's what our elected,
9,000 would be from a lot.
probably not. I think that's what we have our elected officials for. And we lobby them and they lobby somebody else.
Well, we had pretty good contact with.
I think we have as well.
I think lobbyists should be paying us. They should be paying municipalities to lobby the municipalities. Not worth a penny. And they should be all registered, public registry. That's my opinion.
I think we're all kind of agreeing with your opinion. That the Resilient Communities Fund is now open.
Have anything waiting for us to apply for that would fall under this. We still have COVID funding for any projects that we would need to support, so I didn't.
It's resiliency, like if you could use it for a bridge, we'd be all over that, or infrastructure. But
Yeah, our projects don't fall into this category, sadly.
Some application that the town
you know,
will be putting in.
number 8 makes sense if you live in Europe, but it doesn't really make sense for us here.
But we already had our dead end roads taken care of, all of our turnaround. Just take care of that, or signage up. Oh, that was for school, this is a school bus.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, any correspondence that comes in that's addressed to council has to come to council. So that's why some of this ends up in the correspondence, even though it's not something that requires an action.
Because this isn't even our bailiwick, this is.
Yep.
Very sound of school board's bailiwick, is when you get in roles, it's really going up.
then of course, the last 2 things are the Golden Sunshine Municipal Nonprofit Housing. And all the information's in there, and then to follow the minutes of the library, but that was September, and we've already heard in the November 22nd meeting, and Steve's already informed us about that. So if there are no questions otherwise, but we will add those,
Yes,
and Chris has written them down, and they'll be in the next one. And we will then, James and who would like to accept correspondence? Okay, thank you. Councillor Scott and Councillor Kirk. It's number R 2021-261, moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Kirky, that we accept the correspondence as presented. All in favor? Thank you. Carried. Because the accounts, James will remove himself because of his pecuniary interest. So if the remaining two gentlemen have any questions,
Public Works capital, 125,000.
The excavator.
I figure something.
yeah. I signed that check. My hand shook.
Oh, Dan was sitting there grinning.
Pardon?
While Dan was sitting there grinning.
He came in after,
Oh,
just to make sure it got done.
what's the other public works capital 9778?
That would be for the automatic greaser unit.
What?
Auto greaser for the excavator. No, it doesn't come with it.
For 125,000.
Those are what you call extras.
Yeah.
So you just can't check that off in the option box?
No,
Okay.
well, you can, but they'll just add that $9,700.
How does that work?
It goes by like, so hourly, it'll disperse one pump of grease, or you can determine how many pumps, but so
Oh, it depends
for every
on the
hour you
condition.
run it, it'll pump grease or
Yeah.
grease to the lines. So the only thing that doesn't really get greased is the turntable, because it doesn't require a lot of grease, like, so that's the only thing, it's not get automatically greased.
So all your pins get automatically
Yeah,
greased as well?
all the pins, swing motor, everything gets automatically greased. It makes a big difference in the longevity of the machine.
Oh, yeah, I get that, but also in your PM program for that machine, would you also put in check the automatic reserve?
Yeah, it's like, it's visible, so you can see how much grease is in it at all times.
Yeah, I know, but I mean for checking its outputs and stuff like that.
So it has like inside the cab, there's a light, it'll light up if there's any problems with the automated greaser, if the line's broke, or it's not feeling that pressure that it should have.
Oh, I see, okay.
Pump each pin.
Well, that's where I was
Yeah.
going with that, like, how do you know that
There's
pin?
an alarm too.
Yeah,
Oh, there isn't one.
they have, it's a light, you can have it audible or visual, it'll light up if there's an issue with one of, because it requires a certain amount of pressure, right? So once that pressure, if a line is broke, the pressure isn't there, so that it alerts you to it.
But what if, like, for instance, if there's a blockage, does it have a high
It'll be
pressure?
over pressurized, right? So it'll alert you to that also.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I was
so
wondering.
we put it on the 2020 truck that we bought, and I mean, we've had, they're pretty low maintenance. Like we've had no issues. And if a line is broke, especially like the truck being parked inside, you'll see a puddle of grease.
On the truck, doesn't it extend your warranty, or do they cover your warranty on your steering components?
Not on that 2020 wasn't mentioned, because we do it after the fact.
Yeah, but I think the company, as long as you use their grease, they will cover a percentage of, if your kingpins wear out or
Right.
something, though it's usually from a lack of grease,
Yeah,
so they usually cover it. I think they cover that.
I think they're well worth it, the system.
Oh, yeah, but I was just wondering how you maintain that
There's
system.
stipulations on the grease on it.
well, we use their grease.
Yeah.
We buy 5 gallon. So on the truck, it's a year old. We still have a quarter 5 gallon pail left. So it's very minimal use.
Plus you're not getting into a lot of over grease.
Right, you're not getting the over greasing where you're blowing out seals and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
So they work hand in hand with CAT up in Sudbury. So they set like Cat's recommendation, this should have 3 pumps an hour. That's what they set it to, right? They installed it right up at Cat.
Oh, yeah. So it's not,
Okay, I assume it would be adjusted to the conditions that you're using it in.
Well, and so if you were using an extreme, you could, there's a dial, like a computer inside, you could increase it yourself.
oh, okay.
So we have full access to increase or decrease the amount of grease we're using.
If you're digging in liquid,
Right.
Yeah.
there's a button there you can just push and it'll give it a shot.
Oh,
It'll
yeah.
actually do it out of its time. You can.
Oh, I see, you can do an override.
Purges it.
Yeah.
Really dry set.
Yeah.
Ours, if it's the same as theirs, you can actually, you don't think it's getting enough grease, just give it a shot. And it puts it out to the full system.
Township sensor,
Yes,
it makes a difference.
right.
Well, in that case, I need a mover and a second, and there's only you two left.
I thought I was gonna avoid this tonight, you know?
Yeah, well, you're
Oh,
not.
second now.
Councillor Marchant and
I'm not taking that up your page, Steve.
I know. So number 2021-262, moved by Councillor Marchant, seconded by Councillor Kirky, that the statement of accounts dated November 26th and 27th, December 3rd and 6th, 2021, totaling $362,691.16 be approved. All in favor? Welcome back, Scott.
It's a great vacation.
Great, we're gonna move to 18, which is closed session. I need a mover and a seconder, Councillor Scott and Councillor Kirky, thank you very much. So it's number R 2021-263, moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Kirky, that this part of our meeting will be closed to the public as authorized by section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 C25 for consideration of the following subject matter: A, the security of the property of the municipality or local board. I've got it at 8:23 p.m. All in favor?